Xi Jinping and Volodymyr Zelensky's long-awaited phone chat has been cautiously welcomed, but China observers claim the timing implies it may also be an attempt to contain the fallout from controversial remarks made by China's ambassador to France. Ambassador Liu She, one of China's wolf warrior diplomats with a history of fiery remarks, caused outrage across Europe this week when he denied the sovereignty of former Soviet states, saying they did not have effective status. The comments were roundly condemned, with several European nations summoning Chinese envoys for rebuke, and politicians suggesting it demonstrated China's untrustworthiness as a neutral party in the Ukraine war. Although there have been indications that she was dissatisfied with Russia's activities, Beijing, which sees Russia as its closest major friend, has sought to cast itself as neutral and a potential peacemaker. However, in reality, China has mostly supported Russia's position. At a time when there is already significant concern about Russian ambitions and PRC, People's Republic of China, support for them, Liu's comments seem to suggest that Beijing is open to continued, perhaps even expanded, Russian aggression, said Chong Jia-Ian, an associate professor of political science at the National University of Singapore. The U.S. Embassy requested to meet Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich in prison on May 11. However, Russia's foreign ministry refused the request. According to the statement, the action was made in retaliation for Washington's inability to grant visas to representatives from the journalistic pool of the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, for his Monday visit to the UN. Lavrov presided over a UN Security Council meeting on multilateralism and declared that the world was now more dangerous than it had been during the Cold War. He had asked to bring Russian journalists with him, but they were denied entry to the U.S. It was particularly emphasized to the U.S. diplomat that such sabotage, intended to prevent normal journalistic work, would not go unanswered, the Foreign Ministry said in its statement. The American ambassador to Russia, Lynn Tracy, has previously paid a visit to Gershkovich. On May 11, the visit would have occurred. The Kremlin has declared that it is thinking about taking additional sanctions against the U.S. in response to the visa denials. Russia detained him last month in the city of Ekaterinburg. The 31-year-old was in court on Tuesday and was given an espionage charge, which he has disputed. He was deemed to have been wrongfully arrested by Russia by the U.S. In its standoff with the West over Ukraine, Russia does not intend to go down the nuclear escalation route, but countries should not try its patience, according to Maria Zakharova, a spokeswoman for the Russian Foreign Ministry. Her remarks come after a flurry of alerts from senior Russian officials, including President Vladimir Putin, that the risks of a catastrophic nuclear battle are rising due to Western military support for Ukraine. We will do everything to prevent the development of events according to the worst scenario, but not at the cost of infringing on our vital interests, Zakharova told a regular news conference according to Reuters. I do not recommend that anybody doubt our determination and put it to the test in practice, she added. The transfer of Western weapons to Ukraine and the enlargement of the NATO military alliance closer to its borders have drawn sharp criticism from Russia. This month, Finland, which has a lengthy border with Russia, joined NATO as its 31st member. Ukraine also wants to join, but other nations are against it. They, the U.S., continue to deliberately infringe on our fundamental interests, deliberately generate risks, and raise the stakes in the confrontation with Russia, said Zakharova. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, a close Putin ally, said earlier this week that the world was quite probably on the verge of a new world war. Russian military advance in Bakhmut, according to reports. According to Russia's defense ministry, 4 blocks in Bakhmut's northwestern, western, and southwestern regions have been taken by Russian forces, the country's state-run news agency RIA said. Reuters was unable to independently verify the assertion. Russian military have been attempting to take over the city in eastern Ukraine for months. In the news conference, Stoltenberg also hailed the Wednesday phone call between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, their first since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In the crisis, Beijing claims to be impartial, and Xi has never denounced the Russian incursion. There has been speculation that he is attempting to maximize any political gains from the dispute. Western countries are putting more pressure on the Chinese leader to intervene and mediate after his recent cordial trip to Moscow. He promised to travel to Kiev with a peace delegation. Maybe this war will end at the negotiating table, Stoltenberg said. But he stressed that it is for Ukraine to decide what are the conditions for talks and what format any talks should have. In any case, Stoltenberg said, any possibility for meaningful negotiations requires that Ukraine has the necessary military strength to send a very clear message to President Putin that he will not win on the battlefield.